All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're exploring a really fascinating visual mystery that ultimately reveals how the state engineers and then extracts our personal wealth. We're going to look at this incredibly powerful intersection of cultural symbols, intricate tax codes, and the hidden mechanics of family law to understand a concept our sources call the sovereign breeder. It's an absolutely mind-bending look at how legal systems essentially encourage us to pool our assets, only to lay a massive, intricate trap for later extraction.
We've got 5 main areas to cover today. We'll start with the symbols of pride, then move into the monogamy monopoly, see exactly how the system is fattening the financial pig, witness the black swan slaughter, and finally look at the historical echo to show that this definitely isn't just a modern phenomenon.
So kicking things off with Section 1, the symbols of pride.
What's really fascinating about our cultural and legal framework is how the absence of something often speaks way louder than what's actually there. Take, for example, a customized pride flag featuring a white and black swan making a heart. Our sources use this very unique visual to ask a super compelling question. Why are certain identities explicitly represented while others are left out entirely? I mean, swans are globally recognized symbols of lifetime mating and strict fidelity, right? But standard pride flags don't include representation for monogamy or even lifestyle choices like celibacy.
This actually illustrates a brilliant distinction. When we compare what is represented versus what is excluded, we see that innate sexual orientations and biological sex characteristics like asexuality or bodily autonomy for intersex individuals are the things being represented. On the flip side, what is explicitly excluded are chosen behaviors like celibacy and legally dominant relationship structures like monogamy. The flag specifically represents marginalized identities, not institutional baselines.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, the monogamy monopoly.
To really understand why monogamy isn't considered marginalized, we have to look at a concept called amatonormativity. Monogamy isn't on the pride flag because it is literally the state-sponsored baseline. In the vast majority of countries, monogamy is the sole legally protected relationship structure. Practicing non-monogamy by having multiple legal spouses, like bigamy or polygamy, is strictly illegal under family law. So, monogamy effectively holds a total systemic monopoly on state-sanctioned privileges. Just think about these exclusive legal privileges for a second. Joint tax filing, automatic inheritance, health insurance coverage, hospital visitation rights. Family law and tax structures are built entirely to recognize and reward these two-partner relationships. The state is effectively acting as the sovereign breeder here, herding individuals into a single, legally recognized union by offering massive institutional carrots.
All right, Section 3, fattening the financial pig.
So how exactly do these exclusive legal privileges act as a financial trap? Well, I absolutely love this quote from the source material. It says, "Fattening the pig refers to artificially inflating a situation or an asset pool to make it more profitable for the middleman before the final slaughter." This extended metaphor perfectly captures how the system heavily optimizes the growth of an estate. The state uses all those marriage privileges we just talked about to deliberately pool assets, making the estate incredibly lucrative for legal and tax middlemen down the road.
To really grasp how the tax code acts as a catalyst for this, we have to look at a very specific number, $500,000. The tax code actively provides these high-stakes, time-sensitive tax incentives that are explicitly designed to pressure couples into combining their wealth and keeping it locked together. This dynamic creates what we can call the real estate trap. See, the tax code allows married couples who are filing jointly to exclude up to $500,000 of capital gains profit from the sale of their primary residence. But if they get divorced, that exclusion plummets to $250,000 per person. This reveals a terrifying reality. If a divorcing couple mismanages the timing of selling a highly appreciated home, they literally stand to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars directly to the state. The pig is getting carved up by taxes. And it gets even more complicated with the asset-splitting trap. Let's say one spouse takes a $1 million cash retirement account and the other takes a $1 million stock portfolio with massive built-in capital gains. On paper, it looks even, but they absolutely did not receive equal value. Because the original tax base is inherited, that stock portfolio has a massive hidden tax liability. This brilliantly illustrates that a simple 50-50 split is a total illusion. Couples are forced to hire CPAs and financial advisors just to untangle these hidden liabilities, which of course further feeds the industry.
Moving on to Section 4, the black swan slaughter.
Now we arrive at the real climax of our explainer, how the system eventually shatters this concentrated wealth. We've seen how the pig is fattened, right? Now look at the grand architecture of the trap itself. Step 1 is herding the wealth, where the state offers those tax incentives to combine capital. Step 2 is the illusory union. While the vows might say until death do us part, modern no-fault divorce laws actually treat marriage as a highly fragile, temporary partnership.
And finally, step 3, the liquidation. The system plans for the breakdown and forces a highly complex financial unwinding that aggressively carves up all those pooled assets.
When we map this out visually, it's pretty striking. You have the white swan, representing that idealized, lifelong fidelity, the wealth-building phase, and then it collides head-on with the legal scales of the family law system. In economics, a black swan is an unpredictable event that shatters established frameworks. Here, divorce is the black swan event that violently breaks the carefully built estate through a ton of court-ordered legal machinery.
When that breakdown occurs, the wealth simply cannot remain intact. Just look at the friction of separation. Assets are aggressively liquidated, homes are forced into sales, and retirement accounts are carved up. And because divorce lawyers are typically paid by the billable hour, an adversarial process naturally generates much higher fees. Every single forced movement during a divorce triggers a tax event or a legal toll, ultimately transferring a massive chunk of the couple's life savings directly into the legal system and state coffers.
Which brings us to Section 5, the historical echo.
To truly understand how deep this goes, we need to look backward. This isn't just some modern financial critique, it is a historical mechanism of institutional power. Think about the king's annulment. Historically, monarchs, like Henry VIII, didn't use annulments merely for romantic whims. They were deliberate tools of statecraft. When a high-ranking marriage was dissolved, it was actively used to fracture massive estates, destroy rival noble bloodlines, and consolidate that wealth right back into the crown.
The modern equivalent doesn't use an executioner's axe, obviously, but the underlying mechanics are virtually identical. As our source perfectly summarizes, it is a multi-layered financial pipeline where the state acts as both the breeder and the butcher. The state relies on our natural biological urge to pair up, rewards us with legal privileges for building maximum estate size, and then profits immensely off the inevitable friction of our separation.
So, this brings us to a critical realization about personal wealth and systemic traps. Considering how the sovereign breeder herds and ultimately slaughters wealth through taxation and family law, can individuals actually use trust structures or strict financial separation to shield themselves? Or, when it comes to the state and our assets, does the house always win? It's definitely a heavy thought to leave you with, but understanding the rules of the game is the very first step to navigating it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope it changes the way you look at the real cost of getting together and breaking apart.